Adrian's name was known far and wide, a symbol of success in the vibrant markets of his city. As a prosperous merchant, he traded in goods from every corner of the known world: silks from the east, spices from the south, and precious gems that dazzled the eye. His life was one of luxury and influence, built on years of shrewd dealings and relentless ambition. But fate, as the Stoics often remind us, is beyond our control. In a single day, everything Adrian had built came crashing down. A sudden market collapse swept through the city like a storm, leaving devastation in its wake. The once bustling marketplaces were consumed by chaos, merchants scrambling to salvage what little they could. Adrian stood amidst the ruins of his empire, watching as the wealth he had painstakingly amassed evaporated before his eyes. His investments had failed, his ships lost at sea, and his trusted partners had turned away in fear and self-preservation. Overnight, Adrian was reduced to nothing. The luxurious home, the admiration of his peers, the power he wielded, it was all gone. Adrian found himself in a small, dimly lit room at a modest inn, the grandeur of his former life a distant memory. His hands trembled as he leafed through the pages of his ledger, the numbers now meaningless. He had built his identity on his wealth, and with its loss came a profound emptiness. In the silence of that humble room, Adrian was forced to confront a question he had long avoided. Who am I without my wealth? Before we continue, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. Only 15% of my audience is currently subscribed, so if these insights resonate with you, I'd love for you to join our community and turn on the notification bell to stay updated. And exciting news, our channel now offers a 24/7 live stream, streaming Stoic wisdom and insights around the clock. Plus, by joining our members club, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. Adrian could not bear to remain in the city where his downfall was a constant reminder. He packed what little he had left and set out on a journey, not knowing where it would lead, but driven by an urge to escape the shadows of his past. He wandered through vast landscapes, mountains that touched the sky, valleys that stretched endlessly, and villages where life moved at a simpler pace. Each step away from the city was a step toward a new beginning, though Adrian had yet to understand what that might be. In his travels, Adrian took on odd jobs, humbling himself in ways he never thought possible. He worked alongside farmers, tending to crops and livestock. He helped fishermen mend their nets and laborers repair crumbling structures. With each task, Adrian learned the value of effort untainted by ambition, finding a quiet satisfaction in simple work. One evening, as he rested by a campfire beneath a canopy of stars, Adrian met a man who would change his life forever. The old man introduced himself as Lucius, a wandering philosopher clad in simple robes, his eyes reflecting a profound serenity. "May I join you?" Lucius asked, his voice gentle but assured. Adrian, weary from his journey, nodded. "The road is long, and the nights are cold. Company is always welcome." As they shared the warmth of the fire, Lucius spoke of a philosophy that intrigued Adrian. He spoke of Stoicism, a way of life that sought peace not in external wealth, but in the strength of one's character and the mastery of one's emotions. "Adrian," Lucius began, "the greatest wealth is found within. Fortune comes and goes, but virtue remains steadfast. A man who anchors himself in virtue can weather any storm." Adrian listened intently, his heart heavy with the burden of his loss. He shared his story with Lucius, the rise to power, the sudden collapse, and the hollow shell he now felt himself to be. Lucius listened without judgment, nodding thoughtfully as Adrian poured out his soul. "You see," Lucius said. "What has happened to you is not a curse but an opportunity. You have been stripped of illusions, freed from the chains of material desire. Now, you can begin the true journey, the journey within." These words resonated deeply with Adrian. For the first time, he saw his loss not as an end, but as a new beginning. Over the following days, as they traveled together, Lucius imparted the core tenets of Stoicism: the importance of focusing on what is within one's control, the acceptance of life's inevitable hardships, and the cultivation of inner resilience. "Fortune tests us, Adrian," Lucius said one day. "It is not the loss of wealth that breaks a man, but his response to it. Embrace your fate, not with resignation, but with courage. This is what the Stoics call amor fati, the love of one's fate." Adrian began to internalize these lessons, finding a sense of calm he had never known before. The daily struggles of his journey became bearable, even enlightening. He learned to appreciate the beauty of a sunrise, the simplicity of a shared meal, and the strength that came from enduring hardships with grace. After months of wandering, Adrian found himself in a quaint village nestled in a fertile valley. The people were kind, their lives modest but fulfilling. Adrian decided to stay, offering his skills as a trader and craftsman. He rebuilt his life from the ground up, not in pursuit of wealth, but in the spirit of service and community. The villagers respected Adrian, not for his past riches, but for his wisdom and humility. He shared the lessons he had learned from Lucius, teaching the value of resilience and inner peace. The life Adrian built in the village was simple, yet rich in meaning, a stark contrast to the opulence he had once known. But fate had one more test in store for Adrian. One day, as he worked in the village square, a familiar figure appeared on the horizon. It was Felix, his closest friend from his days of wealth and power. Felix, who had been with him through the heights of his success, and who, as Adrian would soon discover, had played a pivotal role in his downfall. "Adrian," Felix called out, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and apprehension. "I've been searching for you." Adrian's heart skipped a beat. Memories of betrayal flooded back, though he did not yet know the full extent of it. That evening, over a simple meal, Felix revealed the truth that would shake Adrian to his core. "The market collapse," Felix confessed, his eyes avoiding Adrian's, "wasn't entirely due to bad luck. I orchestrated it." Adrian's world spun. The man he had trusted above all others had been the architect of his ruin. Felix had manipulated events, bringing down Adrian's empire to test his character, to see if he could rise above his attachment to wealth. "I saw how consumed you were," Felix explained, his voice heavy with guilt. "I feared that your success was destroying you. I thought, if you lost everything, you might find yourself." Adrian's mind raced. Anger surged, but so did the teachings of Lucius. He had learned to find peace in adversity, to embrace his fate with courage. Yet, betrayal by a trusted friend cut deeper than any loss of wealth. "Felix," Adrian finally said, his voice trembling, "you took everything from me. But in losing it, I found something greater. I found myself." The days that followed were filled with difficult conversations and introspection. Felix sought forgiveness, and Adrian grappled with his emotions. The lessons of Stoicism guided him, reminding him that clinging to anger would only prolong his suffering. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Adrian and Felix stood by the village stream. "Felix," Adrian said, "forgiveness is not about excusing what you did. It's about freeing myself from the chains of bitterness. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I choose peace over resentment." Tears welled in Felix's eyes. "Thank you, Adrian. I will spend the rest of my life trying to earn your forgiveness." Together they began to rebuild, not an empire of wealth, but a community founded on trust and mutual respect. Adrian continued to teach the villagers the principles of Stoicism, fostering a spirit of resilience and compassion. Years passed, and Adrian's story became a beacon of hope in the village. He was no longer defined by his wealth or his loss, but by his wisdom and the strength of his character. The village thrived, not because of material riches, but because of the resilience and unity of its people. Adrian often reflected on his journey, the twists of fate that had brought him to this place. He had lost everything but gained so much more. In the quiet moments by the stream, with the village bustling in the distance, Adrian found peace, a peace rooted in the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Adrian sat by the stream, the sound of water soothing his soul. His journey had been one of loss and discovery, betrayal and forgiveness. He had faced the trials of fate and emerged not just as a survivor, but as a man transformed. In the end, Adrian realized that true wealth lies not in what we possess, but in how we live. Through resilience, forgiveness, and inner peace, he found a life of profound meaning, a life that would inspire generations to come. This story explores the Stoic themes of resilience, detachment from material wealth, and forgiveness. Adrian's journey reflects the Stoic belief that true wealth lies in virtue and inner peace, rather than external possessions. His ultimate forgiveness showcases the Stoic practice of controlling one's reactions to betrayal and focusing on what is within one's control. Now the second story, Lucia, a renowned Stoic philosopher, sat in quiet contemplation within the modest confines of her study. The walls were lined with scrolls and texts, each a testament to a life devoted to wisdom and inner peace. Her teachings had guided many through personal trials, offering solace and strength in a turbulent world. But today, her thoughts were disrupted by a summons, a call to an endeavor far beyond the usual confines of philosophical discourse. A messenger had arrived from the Senate bearing urgent news. The city teetered on the brink of war, tensions with a neighboring state escalating by the day. The fragile peace that had held for decades was under threat, and the Senate sought Lucia's counsel. Her reputation for unwavering principles and clear judgment had reached even the highest echelons of power. Lucia's heart was heavy with the weight of the task before her. She had always believed that philosophy was meant to guide one's actions, not just in personal matters, but in the affairs of the state. Now her beliefs would be tested in the most challenging arena of all, politics. Lucia stood before the Senate, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the anxious murmurs of the gathered officials. The room was grand, with towering columns and a domed ceiling that echoed every word spoken within. She listened intently as the senators outlined the dire situation. A dispute over territory had brought two powerful states to the brink of conflict. The neighboring states' emissaries had agreed to negotiations, but mistrust ran deep. "We need someone who can navigate this with wisdom and restraint," the head senator declared. "Someone who can remain composed under pressure, who values peace over personal gain. We need you, Lucia." Lucia bowed her head slightly. "I am honored by your trust. I will do all I can to guide these talks toward a peaceful resolution. But understand this, I will act not as a politician, but as a philosopher. My principles will guide me." The senators nodded, though unease lingered in the air. Politics was a game of power and persuasion, and the inclusion of a philosopher was an unconventional choice. But desperation often leads to unconventional paths. Lucia's mentor, Marcellus, a senior advisor to the Senate and a respected Stoic in his own right, stepped forward. His presence was reassuring, a reminder of the guidance that had shaped her philosophical journey. "Lucia," Marcellus said, his tone both warm and solemn, "remember, In the pursuit of peace, sometimes we must walk paths we would rather avoid. Stay true to your principles, but be mindful of the complexities you will face. Lucia met his gaze, her resolve unwavering. I will do what is necessary, Marcellus, but I will not compromise the core tenets of our philosophy. Peace achieved through deceit is no peace at all. The negotiations were set to take place in a neutral city, a bustling hub where cultures and ideas mingled freely. The air was thick with anticipation as emissaries from both states gathered in a grand hall. The setting was opulent, yet the atmosphere was tense, the weight of potential conflict hanging heavily over the proceedings. Lucia entered the hall, her presence commanding yet serene. She wore a simple but elegant robe, a symbol of her commitment to the Stoic ideals of modesty and focus. The emissaries regarded her with curiosity and skepticism. What could a philosopher offer in such a high-stakes political game? Lucia's approach was deliberate. She began by fostering an environment of mutual respect, emphasizing the shared humanity of all parties involved. She quoted Stoic teachings, reminding the emissaries that true strength lies in self-control and that peace is the highest good. Let us remember, she said, her voice steady, that while we may differ in many ways, we all seek to protect and nurture our people. Let us not allow pride or fear to blind us to the greater good. Her words were met with a mix of admiration and caution. The emissaries, seasoned in the art of political maneuvering, were not easily swayed by philosophy alone. Yet, Lucia's sincerity and clarity planted seeds of doubt in their hardened hearts. Days turned into weeks as the negotiations progressed. Lucia employed Stoic principles to maintain her composure amidst the swirling tensions. She refrained from reacting impulsively, instead responding with thoughtful deliberation. When tempers flared, she remained a steadying force, reminding all present of the ultimate goal: peace. You have now reached the halfway mark of the video. I congratulate you for trying to become a better version of yourself, and I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better" every day, so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. As the talks inched closer to a resolution, a troubling revelation began to surface. Whispers reached Lucia's ears, rumors of secret dealings and manipulations behind the scenes. At first, she dismissed them as typical political intrigue, but the rumors persisted, growing more detailed and insistent. Driven by a sense of duty, Lucia sought the truth. She quietly began to investigate, speaking with those on the periphery of the negotiations, the servants, the guards, the lesser officials. What she uncovered shook her to her core. Marcellus, her trusted mentor and a guiding force in her life, was at the heart of the deception. He had been orchestrating events behind the scenes, manipulating both sides to ensure a particular outcome, one that would benefit him personally. His actions were not driven by a desire for peace, but by ambition and a quest for power. Lucia's mind raced. The mentor she had revered, the man who had taught her the virtues of integrity and self-control, had betrayed those very principles. She felt a deep sense of betrayal and disillusionment. Lucia now faced a profound moral dilemma. She could expose Marcellus, revealing the manipulations that had tainted the negotiations. Doing so would likely derail the talks, plunging both states back into the path of war. Or she could remain silent, allowing the peace talks to conclude, but at the cost of her integrity and the truth. Lucia sought solitude, retreating to a quiet chamber to reflect. She recalled the teachings of Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, the wisdom that had guided her through life's challenges. She pondered the nature of justice and the importance of truth. Is peace built on lies true peace? Or is it a fragile illusion destined to crumble under the weight of its false foundations? Can I betray my principles for the greater good? Or is such a betrayal a greater harm in itself? Lucia wrestled with these questions, the weight of her decision pressing heavily upon her. She knew that whatever choice she made, there would be consequences, both for herself and for the countless lives depending on the outcome of these talks. The following day, Lucia requested a private audience with Marcellus. The room was dimly lit, the tension palpable. Marcellus greeted her with a warm smile, though there was a flicker of unease in his eyes. "Lucia, my dear pupil," he began, "what troubles you?" Lucia met his gaze, her expression grave. "I know the truth, Marcellus. I know of your manipulations. You have betrayed the trust placed in you, and you have betrayed our philosophy." Marcellus sighed, his shoulders sagging under the weight of his actions. "Lucia, you must understand. The world of politics is not as simple as the world of philosophy. Sometimes we must make difficult choices to achieve a greater good." Lucia's voice was firm. "You speak of a greater good, yet you have acted out of self-interest. You have compromised the very principles we hold dear. How can peace built on deceit be a true peace?" Marcellus looked away, unable to meet her eyes. "I did what I thought was necessary. Perhaps I have lost my way, but now you must decide what to do." Lucia's heart ached. She saw the conflict in Marcellus, the struggle between his ambition and the values he had once cherished. She knew that exposing him would not only ruin him, but also endanger the fragile peace they had worked so hard to achieve. After a long silence, Lucia spoke. "I will not expose you, Marcellus, but I will not condone your actions either. We will proceed with the negotiations, but once they are concluded, I will step away from this world. I cannot be part of a system that compromises truth for expedience." Marcellus nodded, a tear rolling down his cheek. "I understand. You are stronger than I, Lucia. I hope you will find peace in your decision." The negotiations reached a successful conclusion, and a peace agreement was signed. The city celebrated, unaware of the shadows that had loomed over the talks. Lucia returned to her study, her heart heavy, but her conscience clear. She had made a choice, one that reflected her commitment to Stoic principles, even in the face of great personal and moral complexity. Marcellus, too, retreated from public life, his ambitions tempered by the weight of his actions. He sought redemption in quiet contemplation, hoping to atone for his betrayal. Lucia continued her work as a philosopher, her teachings now enriched by her experiences in the political arena. She spoke not only of resilience and inner peace, but also of the challenges of living with integrity in a complex and often morally ambiguous world. In the quiet of her study, Lucia reflected on her journey. She had faced the ultimate test of her philosophy and emerged with her principles intact. The world of politics had shown her the limits and strengths of Stoicism, the importance of steadfastness in the face of adversity, and the necessity of compassion, even for those who falter. Life is filled with challenges that test our character and resolve, but in the end, it is our commitment to truth, integrity, and the greater good that defines us. Let us walk the path of virtue, not because it is easy, but because it is right. The story delves into the Stoic practice of duty, ethical decision-making, and the pursuit of justice. Lucia's moral dilemma highlights the Stoic challenge of balancing personal integrity with the greater good. Her internal conflict underscores the Stoic emphasis on acting in accordance with virtue, even in the face of profound external pressure. Now, the third story, Marcus was a dedicated scholar, a man deeply invested in the study of ancient philosophies. His days were filled with lectures, research, and the quiet companionship of dusty tomes. He found solace in the measured wisdom of the Stoics, drawing strength from their teachings on resilience, discipline, and inner peace. Yet beneath his composed exterior, Marcus wrestled with his own shadows, an unrelenting anger and a desire for justice that often bordered on vengeance. One evening, while perusing the stacks of a forgotten library, Marcus stumbled upon a journal. The leather-bound volume was aged and worn, its pages brittle yet legible. It bore no title, only an inscription on the inside cover. To those who seek to understand the cycle of life, may this serve as a guide. Intrigued, Marcus settled into a corner of the library and began to read. The journal chronicled the life of a Roman soldier named Lucius, a man condemned to a repeating cycle of death and rebirth. Each life offered Lucius a chance to master the principles of Stoicism, yet he continually fell prey to anger, revenge, and the lust for power. The soldier's journey mirrored the struggles of many, a battle not against external foes, but against the tumult within. Marcus felt an inexplicable connection to the soldier's plight, a resonance that stirred something deep within him. The journal recounted the first life of Lucius, a promising young soldier in the Roman army. His early years were marked by discipline and a strong sense of duty. He was brave, loyal, and driven by a desire to protect his homeland. Yet his courage often veered into recklessness, and his sense of justice was rigid, unforgiving. Lucius's first life ended tragically. Betrayed by a trusted ally, he was ambushed and left for dead on a remote battlefield. As his life ebbed away, Lucius was consumed by anger and a thirst for vengeance. His final thoughts were not of peace but of retribution. In his final moments, Lucius swore vengeance, a vow that would bind him to the cycle of rebirth. His soul, burdened by unresolved rage, could not move on. Lucius awoke in a new body, a new life, yet with faint memories of his past. He found himself once again on the path of a soldier, driven by a familiar sense of duty, but also by a lingering anger he could not fully understand. Each life followed a similar pattern, opportunities for growth marred by the inability to let go of past grievances. As Marcus delved deeper into the journal, he noticed peculiar details. The descriptions of places, events, and even personal reflections seemed eerily familiar. There were passages that echoed his own thoughts, his own struggles with anger and a desire for justice. The more he read, the more Marcus felt as though he were not merely an observer of Lucius' journey, but a participant. Could it be that this Roman soldier's tale was, in some inexplicable way, his own? The journal described Lucius's repeated failures to master his emotions and embrace the Stoic principles fully. Each life presented him with trials, a betrayal, a loss, a moral dilemma, designed to teach resilience, acceptance, and the futility of vengeance. Yet each time Lucius succumbed to anger, perpetuating the cycle. Marcus found himself reflecting on his own life. He recognized a pattern in his experiences, a series of events that seemed to test his capacity for forgiveness, his ability to rise above the desire for revenge. He began to suspect that the journal was more than a historical account. It was a chronicle of his own past lives. The revelation was both thrilling and terrifying. Marcus felt the weight of countless lifetimes, each filled with struggle and failure. He realized that his current life was yet another opportunity to break free from the cycle, to finally learn the lessons that had eluded him for so long. The journal detailed a particularly poignant life where Lucius had come close to mastering his anger. In this life, he had befriended a Stoic philosopher who guided him through the teachings of Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. The philosopher's wisdom had a profound impact on Lucius, helping him see the futility of his vengeance and the peace that could be found in acceptance. Lucius learned that true strength lay not in the power to exact revenge, but in the courage to forgive. Yet, even in this life, old habits died hard, and Lucius faltered in the final moments. Marcus felt a deep empathy for Lucius, a kinship born of shared struggles. He resolved to take the lessons to heart, to apply the Stoic principles not as an academic exercise, but as a living practice. He began to observe his thoughts more closely, to question the impulses that drove him toward anger and vengeance. Marcus's resolve was soon tested. A betrayal in his professional life, a colleague who had taken credit for his research, stirred the familiar feelings of anger and a desire for retribution. The injustice burned within him, threatening to consume his newfound peace. He turned to the journal, seeking guidance. Lucius' experiences offered a mirror to his own dilemma. In one life, Lucius had faced a similar betrayal and had chosen to confront his betrayer with violence, only to find that it brought no satisfaction, only more pain and suffering. Marcus realized that to break the cycle, he would have to respond differently. He could not change the actions of others, but he could control his response. He chose to address the situation with calm and reason, confronting his colleague with honesty and a request for acknowledgement rather than retribution. Though the resolution was not perfect, Marcus felt a sense of liberation. He had resisted the pull of anger, choosing instead a path aligned with his principles. It was a small victory, but a significant step toward breaking the cycle. The journal's final entries detailed a moment of profound transformation for Lucius. In his last recorded life, he faced a situation that mirrored his original betrayal, a chance to confront the descendant of the ally who had once betrayed him. Lucius was given an opportunity for vengeance, but instead he chose forgiveness. In doing so, he broke the cycle of rebirth, finding peace in his final moments. The journal ended with a simple yet profound statement: the cycle ends when the heart finds peace. Marcus closed the journal, his heart heavy with the weight of the journey, but lightened by the wisdom gained. He understood now that his life was a continuation of Lucius's story, and the choices he made would determine whether he, too, could break free from the cycle. The lessons of Stoicism were no longer just theoretical concepts, but living truths. Marcus knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but he was committed to walking it with courage, resilience, and an open heart. Marcus returned the journal to its place in the library, knowing that its lessons would stay with him forever. He continued his work as a scholar, but with a renewed purpose. He integrated the principles of Stoicism into his daily life, not as a distant philosophy, but as a guiding force. He also began sharing the story of Lucius with others, not revealing the personal connection, but using it as a teaching tool. He spoke of the cycles we all face, the struggles with anger, vengeance, and the pursuit of inner peace. And so, Marcus embarked on a new chapter of his life, not as a man bound by the past, but as one liberated by wisdom. He understood that the true journey was not in seeking external validation, but in mastering the inner landscape, finding peace amidst life's inevitable trials. As he walked through the bustling streets of the city, Marcus felt a quiet contentment. The cycle had not yet ended, but he was closer than ever to breaking free. Each step forward was a step toward peace, guided by the timeless wisdom of the Stoics and the hard-earned lessons of countless lives. This story intertwines the Stoic concepts of amor fati, love of fate, and the eternal recurrence. It reflects on the Stoic idea that life's challenges are opportunities for growth and mastery over one's passions. Marcus's realization and choice to embrace Stoicism as a way to end the cycle highlight the transformative power of accepting and thriving within the constraints of fate. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.